I'm Helen Daly-Fisher. I'm the Program Manager for the Equality Rights Alliance, which is one of the 6 national women's alliances who are funded through the Office for Women by the Commonwealth Government. I'm going to hand over to Minister Cash because unfortunately she's got another engagement and needs to dash away, but it's fantastic to have her here. And I think that one of the great joys of this process has been seeing the Minister's engagement with the process and your enthusiasm for it, which has been great. So I'll hand over.
Thank you so much, Helen. And can I commence by just saying it is just so wonderful to be with you all today. Mari, thank you for putting together what I think quite literally, I hope for those of you who were able to attend CSW with us, brought back some fond memories. But in terms of those who have not participated formally in the CSW process, I hope it's given you some flavour of quite literally, and I know you should never say this, the fun the Australian delegation had. Because at the end of the day, we did have what was a lot of fun, and I think that is so important when you go away together that you do get on. It was without a doubt for me one of the most amazing things I've ever done, and I really did consider it to be a huge honour that as the relevant minister I was the lead of the Australian delegation to what is without a doubt the preeminent global forum for women across the world. Mari, I cannot thank you enough for all of the work that you, Jinting, the Office for Women did. I think many people know that as a minister, I do consider it sort of a personal goal that I do set a very hard and fast pace. Others might say, well, that's your personal goal, Michaelia. We have to then go and undertake all of these tasks that you give us. But in relation to CSW, because it was my first CSW and I didn't know what to expect, but what I came to learn in particular post-CSW in terms of the amount of work that the Office for Women and the Department of Foreign Affairs put in, quite literally, the day we all arrive back from New York or from the conference is the day that the Office of Women and the Department of Foreign Affairs commence preparation for the next CSW. Mari, the work that your office did in preparing your minister in me was just absolutely outstanding, and I do want to publicly acknowledge you in front of all of your peers here, because I know everybody knows Mari well, and just say on behalf of myself as the minister, thank you, and thank you to Jinting. The reason that I was able to perform as the head of the delegation was obviously very much in part due to the work that the office did. So thank you very much. Can I also say, ladies, I saw the tweeting at the end. I've already tweeted us this morning, so anybody who wants to retweet to make sure everybody does know we're doing our report back session, that would be absolutely fantastic. But the other thing that I have done for the first time as a minister, and again, it's the Office of Women have done it for me, and I'm very lucky that I get to sign off on it, but is we actually are for the first time preparing an official delegation report. Other delegations that go away prepare reports that are tabled in the Parliament. For the first time, you will all be seeing an official Office for Women, Minister for Women report, and I'm really excited about that, because so often I have been asked, what happened at CSW? Is there any mechanism that we can actually go and have a look? And the good news is within the next few weeks, Mari, I don't know what our budget is in terms of printing allowance. However, the good news is it will obviously be provided to you by way of a PDF document, and that should give you a really, really good understanding of the CSW process and the role that the Australian delegation takes. To the alliances, many of you who were able to join us as the non-government delegates, just a huge thank you. The feedback that I have received in terms of the enthusiasm of the Australian delegation, the professionalism of the Australian delegation has been absolutely wonderful, and that is obviously due to the work that you all did at CSW. Obviously also I was very lucky that I could take with me to official representatives. I don't need to say a lot about Julie McKay, other than she was an obvious choice, and it was just absolutely delightful to have you on board. And also to Liz Broderick. As so many of you know, Liz again, just wonderful in this space. One of my key outcomes from CSW, apart from obviously ensuring that Australia's position, which was reflected widely in terms of post the 2015 sort of Millennium Development Goals, that we wanted to see gender equality as a standalone goal, we achieved it. Well done to everybody in this room, because that's your advocacy that did this. But we also ensured through our advocacy that in relation to all other goals, gender equality will be mainstreamed through them. Again, that is due to your advocacy in this space. So congratulations to each and every one of you that through the work that you've done both domestically, but in particular on the international scale, I am very, very proud that we achieved as a country what we set out to achieve. In terms of our presence at CSW, I could have gone to absolutely every forum, but obviously was time limited. And that's why it was so important to have Julie. It was so important to have Sue. It was so important to have Liz, because we quite literally, didn't we, had this Australian presence across the breadth of CSW. And again, the feedback I've received is that it was well and truly noticed that Australia was on the global stage, well and truly promoting gender equality. Can I say, it's very humbling though, I think, for each and every one of us to be here today at the report back session, given that you will spend the day talking about the achievements in terms of the agreed conclusions. You will talk about gender equality both domestically and on a global scale. But how humbling that we again woke up to the news this morning that in addition to the 276 young girls who have been taken by the Islamist group Boko Haram, they have gone and kidnapped more young girls. They have this morning confirmed more girls have been kidnapped. For those of you who haven't seen the video that has been released of the head of the terrorist organisation, if you can try and watch it, because as they said, this was almost a victory dance, telling the world just what they can do. They can walk in, they can grab young girls, they can take them across the border, and they can sell them as either slaves or as child brides. So I think, again, it is just so opportune for us to be sitting here today, because whilst we have achieved so much globally as a country, it is just that continual reminder that even though the world has agreed in the agreed conclusions that gender equality should be mainstreamed, even though we have agreed as a global community at CSW that gender equality should be a standalone goal, you then have this reminder, and a very stark reminder, because it's happening, that young girls still in many countries are no further down that path to gender equality. Given in particular the reason they were allegedly taken is because, lo and behold, they wanted an education, something that each of us hold dear. Just very quickly, CSW, what did we do there? We are greatly supported by the head of the UN mission in Australia, our Consul General there, and the Department of Foreign Affairs. We then literally have a set program that is given to each of us prior to going to CSW. The other person that obviously I travelled with was Natasha Stott-Despoja, our Ambassador for Women and Girls. So we literally have a schedule for those of you who haven't been to CSW before. Again, in terms of the schedule, it quite literally is as it should be, given that we all go at taxpayers' expense, back-to-back meetings all day. In fact, at one stage, I think people were looking at me and saying, Michaelia, you may not want to eat, but we do. Because we didn't even factor in the lunch break, did we, Mari? Did we, Julie? Did we? It quite literally was. I think it was so important when you're on delegations like this and there is an expectation that certain things will be agreed, that you utilise every minute of the day to do the job that back home you expect us to do. So in terms of our schedules, I can assure you they were quite literally back to back. We had what are called bilateral meetings. So I, as the Minister, would meet with a counterpart from another country. So for example, China, Timor-Leste, Japan, Denmark, etc., where we would talk at a very high level about our goals in relation to gender equality. But at each of these bilateral meetings, it gave me the opportunity to reconfirm Australia's position in relation to the agreed conclusions, which was, as I said, gender equality should be a standalone goal, and in relation to any other goals, it should be mainstreamed. Very important in these meetings because you literally have minders taking notes, and they do report back to the other governments what Australia's position is on the agreed conclusions and on gender equality. We also, as a team, were able to spread ourselves across many, many forums. And I know Julie will tell you today about the forums that she was able to attend. In relation to the forums that I attended, you would go to a forum, a lot of them would be rooms like this, a lot of them would be rooms a quarter of the size of this, and I kid you not, the queues would be literally out the doors, wouldn't they? And they would open the doors and people would rush in, and then they would have to close the doors because the rooms just were not big enough, were they, Margie? It was amazing, wasn't it? And again, so humbling that you get a seat at the table to present Australia's position. For me, each forum that I went to, again, just humbled me. I remember being at a forum for women, peace and security where we listened to 3 women who themselves had experienced war, to listen to an elderly lady from Syria. On the 4th anniversary, it was a little ironic, the day we had the forum was the 4th anniversary of the Syrian atrocities. But to listen to her life and how it had been impacted, you know, just there's nothing you can say other than as the Australian representative to reconfirm our commitment to, you know, global peace. And which is very, they find that very reassuring. Sometimes we don't understand the impact that just reaffirming the Australian government's position globally has on these countries that are not as lucky as us. I think, though, the most moving forum for me that I attended was the forum hosted by Australia, because we do have the opportunity to host a number of forums, and we co-hosted the forum on female genital mutilation. I sat one down from a young girl who, when we were just talking quietly, and she then did reiterate this to the room, but she told me the story of when she was mutilated. And there's not a lot you can say, let me assure you, when someone tells you she remembers as if it were yesterday her mother coming to get her, being taken from her room, being taken downstairs to another room in the house where the aunts and other female relatives were waiting, of begging them not to mutilate her, of being held down by her own family, her own mother, and then being cut. And there were a number of those stories which were shared. But, you know, these women, they don't consider themselves victims. They now consider themselves voices, don't they? They consider themselves voices in relation to the abolition of female genital mutilation. I think for those who were able to attend that forum, the most beautiful part of the forum was there was a set of twins, 12-year-old boy and girl. And the little girl stood up, and she was very lucky she hadn't been mutilated because her family understood it was wrong. And that was wonderful. But I think it was when her brother, 12 years of age, stood up at an international forum and said, It is wrong. I stand here today speaking on behalf of my sister to the global community to say that as a young man, female genital mutilation is wrong. I think nearly brought the entire room to tears, quite frankly, because that's the type of leadership you see at CSW. For me, in my role as the minister, I was one of the final speakers. So it is wonderful, and as I said, so reassuring for those other countries who are there to have Australia reconfirm its position in relation to female genital mutilation, and to then reconfirm our efforts at a global level. And as I said to you, that's just not me saying that. That is literally the feedback I would then get from the delegates from other countries, because I didn't know how powerful our position would be. Our position is our position. But they would come up and they would literally hold my hand and say, thank you. It gives us strength to know that Australia supports us in relation to our efforts. And for me, again, it just reconfirmed how important it is for us to attend these international forums. One of the most humbling things you'll ever do is give a country statement on behalf of your country. What I did notice, and I think this was backed up by those who were there when I gave our country statement, was the country statements are just literally given like this. Literally, it is just a rolling forum. And I don't underestimate that Julie, that Mari, literally would sit in this room on behalf of Australia, listening to statement after statement after statement. And a lot of them are, you know, they're statements, that's it. And you get the polite clap at the end. So I would have sat in for 3 or 4 prior to getting the call, Michaelia, get down here, you're actually on, we've managed to bump you up. And I listened intently to them, and there was this. Yeah, it was great. I think the quality of our statement, which I personally did not draft, obviously, but it's the quality of what the Australian government is doing that I have the ability to share with everybody. It was humbling to receive the applause, wasn't it? People really did listen to our statement as a country. And then as I was walking out, people were clapping, and a number tried to grab me to say congratulations to Australia. Again, very humbling that on that international scene, people are looking to Australia to hear what we are doing both domestically, and I was able to affirm the government's priorities in relation to, in particular, women's safety and our work on the National Action Plan, women's economic empowerment and women's leadership. But then also to talk about what we've done on the international stage, in particular in relation to women, peace and security, and the fact that now that we do have this role on the UN Security Council, we will be using that role well and truly to further our agenda in relation to women, peace and security. In terms of our representation, we had over 50 representatives, and the wonderful thing was I was very keen for this to occur on the first night that we were all in New York, didn't we, Margie? We had the big function at the High Commission. It was so important for me that I touched base as the head of the delegation with every person that could actually attend this function. Invitations were obviously extended to everybody, and it was just wonderful because I think it really set the tone in terms of we're here as a team, it's a team effort, this is Australia on the global stage. I want enthusiasm, I want motivation, and we all went off, didn't we, almost as high as kites, knowing that we were quite literally Team Australia, getting that message in terms of gender equality, our commitment to it, how we wanted the global community committed to it over the time that we were there. I obviously returned to Australia. After my time at the conference, I've already tabled a ministerial statement on our time at CSW. I thought that was very, very important that we reported back to the Parliament. But I do remember when I was saying goodbye to those who I was leaving behind, that literally that's when the hard work began. That's when the negotiations really began in earnest. And I know that Mari and Julie, etc., will be able to take you through just what it's like to be part of those negotiations, because they go right into the night, don't they? They go into the hours of the early morning, because it is just so important that we achieve our goals. But you know, with any international negotiation, gosh, it sounds so easy, doesn't it? It sounds so easy because they're such great goals, but it literally comes down to a particular country or a particular group of countries might be offended by one word, which we as a country might say, well, hold on, it's innocuous, this is what it means. But for that country or that group of countries, it means you will not be getting agreement. It's as simple as that. Go back to the drawing board. And that was the role of so many of you in this room, to work through all of those hurdles to ensure that at the end of the day, the agreed conclusions reflected Australia's position. It's time for me to wrap up now, because I do have the honour now of going off to Canberra for the launch of the 2015 Netball Championships, which we are hosting. So it's another women's event, which I'm very excited about. But just again, as the head of the delegation, as the minister here, please, I know it was not about me by any means. It was a team effort. And it was a team effort whereby the work began well and truly before I even became the minister. So again, it was humbling, it was an honour. I truly do hope I do again have that opportunity next year to go to what I now truly know is a wonderful conference. But to each and every one of you in this room, it is because of you. It is because of your long-term advocacy in relation to gender equality, both domestically and on the global scale, that Australia has the excellent reputation that we have globally. But it's also your achievement that the agreed conclusions ultimately did reflect what we went there as a country to achieve as outcomes. So enjoy the rest of the day. I wish I could be here. I know I'll be getting the video afterwards. I will be watching it with interest because I know that there'll be some very, very exciting report back that you'll get. So have a wonderful time and thank you very much.